Comic Book Day, and welcome back, all you four-color funny book aficionados. This is US Comics Cast HQ for all things comic book connected. We are properly John and Charlie Rivera, the co-founders of US Comics. Charlie, happy Comic Book Day.
Happy Comic Book Day to you and to everyone listening and watching today. As always, we are brought to you by Ben Murray Ben and Sergeant Finesse Gaming. If you haven't done so already, please hit that comment section like your former Jedi Master turned to the dark side, became a cyborg, oppressed the galaxy, saw the error of his ways, and gave the Emperor his ultimate comeuppance. But now you're ready for your very own adventure. John!
Charlie!
I already have a huge mistake on the show.
Already?
I listed us as John and Charlie, but that's not true. You're Broadway John.
Well,
you are celebrity friending, kiss stealing, limousine riding, jet flying, a beautiful, healthy son of a gun. John,
Charlie boy.
how has the run been so far?
So, you know what, man? I can't lie to you. It's been pretty okay. So, again, if anyone who is joining us has any recollection, I am still in the midst of a very, very successful Long Island run of Chaz Palminteri's Bronx Tale, the musical.
Good luck getting a fucking ticket.
Yeah.
I was going to go Sunday, and they were like, nah, you're not. Sunday sold out, bitch, and it sold out on Tuesday?
Charlie,
that's not even like a joke.
No, I've been monitoring.
Fuck, I literally called in there. I'm like, yo, but for me though, yeah. And they're like, maybe we could get you through the back room.
Maybe, I kind of know a guy, and then they're like, how many movies have you been in? Because,
and it turns out the type of movies I've been in don't count.
Yeah,
which is really insulting.
Yeah, but I mean, you do have to understand where they're coming from in that situation. So just real quick again, we're experiencing a very, very, very fun, very rewarding run of Bronx Tale right now. Sadly, Charlie was under the weather, as they say.
Under the Tuscan weather.
So that's the reason why we did not have the show last week. But we're certainly going to do our very best to make up for it. But I do want to throw this one out there for anyone who is not in our immediate circle. So what damn day was it? Was it this past? Was it Saturday?
When Chaz showed up?
Or yeah.
I think it was Saturday.
But yeah, so Saturday's show. We just kind of show up and ready to go. It's a lie. Sunday show. This past Sunday show, we kind of get there. We're ready to go. We had a couple of shows for the weekend under the belt already. But you know, we're quasi professionals up in that joint, so we're gonna give a full house, the full show effect, and kind of like the
murmur,
peas and carrots amongst the cast, and maybe, just maybe, we are going to have a special guest amongst us, and
which is a little scary when you have a show that involves the world of the mafia.
Yeah, like who's showing up? Like, who exactly did we offend?
A bunch of people are sitting in VIP that did not pay for VIP.
Why are the musicians sitting in the audience with their violin cases? They should be in the pit, right?
I like this seat better.
So
Johnny two times, ain't that right? Johnny two times. Yeah.
So not to delay, but yeah, Chaz Palminteri himself.
That's lunacy.
And not his one, but his two security personnel were in attendance.
Security personnel for Chaz must just be two giant Italian men.
I do gotta say this. I do have to say this. One of the fellas had a striking resemblance to Ronnie the limo guy.
Oh,
from Howard Stern. I was like, wait a minute, is that what he has been up to? Has he jumped ship?
That is amazing.
But yeah, he was a gracious, truly a gentleman, like pretty much what you would expect. Tall guy, but very complimentary, very just a wonderful guy, just a real nice guy. He stuck around spend time with all of us individually, and
Oh, really?
yeah, it was pretty great. It was a pretty great
I
experience.
do know there's a great on the page. I'm going to put you in charge of that. But it did feel like you were his favorite. Like,
Well,
he did come out for the curtain call, which was a little peculiar. He's like, I wrote the goddamn
He's
thing.
like, yeah, this applause is for me. This applause is for me, and he was right, quite frankly.
He wasn't wrong by any stretch of the imagination. What were you a little starstruck? You've been living in this guy's dad's shoes because the story probably in real life had less singing, but the story is
or maybe more. So.
oh wow, it's autobiographical. So it's like this is real deal Happy Meal,
and that's
especially aspects of it.
That's what a lot of people don't realize. They know him for being in it. They know him from his, portrayal, and that was like really his launching point. But the whole Bronx Tale and Rocky mirror each other greatly because he couldn't get work as an actor. He said, you know what, let me write something for me to be in. And what story do I know best? My own personal story. So his name really is Calogero.
That's fine.
That's okay. Calogero, Lorenzo, Anello, and he just wrote his story. So all these fantastic things that happen in the flick happened to my man Chaz in real life, and people when Hollywood got their mitts on the script, they said, "This is great. We want to buy it from you. We don't want you to be in it. We're gonna do our own thing." And he said, "No." He refused with nothing in his pocket, feeling his leg when he sticks his head in his pocket.
I would sell your story for $50. My own story, 40 cents.
The kid comes cheap, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, he held his ground, and De Niro ended up directing and co-starring in it, and he did his thing. So look, when you're literally self-made, especially in an industry like that, then you can you can afford, so to speak, to really stick to your guns. You'll be like, I'm gonna behave the way I think is right to behave. I'm gonna carry myself how I think is the proper way to carry myself, so on and so forth. And that's what he did, man. It's really, really a good guy. It was an amazing experience.
It must have been so wild for that crowd, though. Because you just see a story that's very much about... I mean, the taglines of that show, one of the greatest statements I think that can be made is... I don't want to paraphrase it, but
you're on your way.
But the worst thing in life is wasted talent. And to tell that to a bunch of actors who range from Little C is how old?
I'm the kid's
that actor? 8?
7.
So from 7 to you're about to celebrate your 65th birthday.
Why?
So I think it's such a beautiful range.
Drag me on my own.
It's such a wonderful.
What's wrong with this kid?
Range, but it speaks to the truth because for a local theater, the work's not different. The different of effort put in on a Broadway production, an off-Broadway production, and a very off-Broadway production, the work is the same. The giving up, I would argue what you do, the schedule that you ran to be part of the show, is a schedule most people can't do, regardless what they want.
Well,
but so then for an audience to see these actors put on a hell of a show, and you guys absolutely crush it, all the flowers being sent your way are deserved. But then to see the guy who...
Those are actual funeral flowers.
Well, bro, I'm on a budget. I'm on a budgie, son. That must have been a real trip to then see the guy who made really, truly something special out of himself. When probably a lot of the safer bet would have been against him. The safer bet. A lot of his friends are in the ground. A lot of his friends made very different life decisions. This is a successful man, you know?
Yeah, it definitely is. I don't know how many of his friends are on the ground, but...
At least some.
But I definitely hear what you're saying, and,
Those three guys blew up in the second act.
The truth is... he's a success story, right? Somebody that you can point to and say, this cat did it, right? Set the sights on a particular goal, and... it brought it to fruition.
Yeah.
And that's regardless of what avenue that success story lies in. It's one of those happily ever after type stories, and we're just kind of so pre-programmed to say, no, that's a fallacy. That's a fairy tale. That's pie in the sky bullshit. It ain't.
Yeah.
It ain't. It happens all the time.
It's strange because like obviously that is beyond something special. And honestly, it's a special show. If you are local, if you can manage to score a ticket, only a few performances left. It's a hot ticket. It's one of the hottest tickets in town.
If you're coming solo, you'll be all right.
That's right. To Ellis, you will have to stick around to see if Chaz shows up in a very soon episode. I don't want to say that this is just a ploy to get more people to watch, but I'm saying maybe it's a ploy.
The kid might show up.
My experience not as fancy. I didn't get to rub elbows with a guy who's been in a ton of films, sold a bunch of shows. I did get to spend a little time with Penelope Ford of AEW fame. They're having the biggest wrestling show in history, taking place this Sunday. Hung out with Penelope Ford, her husband Kip Saban. They're awesome. Another set of very interesting success stories who have nothing but huge futures. So it was kind of cool getting to see them already kind of in this bubble, and much like Chaz seemed to be, minus maybe the security, because I was kind of playing their security. It was cool seeing bad news bears.
A pair of ass kicker deluxes.
And I'm just like, I'm a little baby. I'll hold the money.
The claymation Charlie's like, I've been charged, don't worry.
Fun fact though, and this could be bullshit. This could be the promoter lying. But the promoter, before the show started, made a big deal that like Penelope Ford is not a hugger. I got a very big hug at the end of the show, and she, very, very nice compliment. Said she said that I elevated the experience for everybody, which I took to heart. So elevating experiences, I was like an all-time high, despite being as sick as shit. I'm still falling apart.
Is she a known lover of Samoans?
You don't know. Zero Samoans in the kill list.
Really?
So I think it's just the I seem like a guy who would wear a box on his head pretty willingly, like her husband. So that's a very inside wrestling shtick.
I would have gone
for the
with maybe,
two people that get it.
Maybe she was just feeling sympathy for Maui. She's like, you know what?
That could be.
Let me show my love this way.
I did re-enter the dating pool recently. So far, not going great. Maybe I should be like, this is how to give back.
Yeah.
This is how to give back. I like this plan.
Keep your dollar. Show me your love.
Exactly.
Just wear a feather fucking a leaf crown.
Done.
Play a little ukulele.
It is decided. Ever since that guy won American Idol, I really should have changed my whole gimmick.
You're slipping.
Let's go into me knocking over air filters that you gave me.
Wrecking the joint.
Ahsoka
Tano son.
Yeah.
So my beloved Rosario Dawson done did it again.
Joker Stream has dating advice for me, and I'm petrified.
You know what? I think probably Bats has the better dating advice, but you know what? If this comes filtered down through Bats Joker, Charlie should absolutely take every word.
All right, this I will fucking say it one more time for the people in the back row. If you think any woman on this planet is gonna be so fucking special, some magic fucking snowflake flying down from fucking heaven, to the point where I don't bring my proton pack to that first date, you gotta have protection. You told me my whole life, bring protection to the first dates, because you never know.
If I can tack on to Joker's sentiment, I think we know at this point you're gonna bring the proton pack.
That's what I call you when I bring you along.
So Charlie's gonna have, what's her name, Dolores?
Dolores, no, she's named after the Audrey 2, but she's Audrey 3.
Audrey 2.5. It's not that he's gonna bring the proton pack. That's gonna happen. It's that he has the proton pack in the front seat, strapped down, and then he makes these lovely young ladies sit in the back seat.
Like I'm a chauffeur.
By themselves.
They should feel honored.
You stick with that. But in any case, the orange one, Ahsoka Tano, who
I thought you were talking about Trump for a second. I'm like, this show's taking a turn.
Yeah, we're not going that way. So Ahsoka Tano, who was introduced to us by the cowboy wearing Dave Filoni, in animated form, who we first caught in real life on the small screen, portrayed by Rosario Dawson. way back in Mandalorian at the season 2, I think.
Yeah.
We first saw her. She's now getting her own bite at the apple.
Woo!
And she didn't come along, Charlie.
She brought all her friends.
She gathered together the Filoni animated all-stars as if they were going to do their own Star Wars wacky races. They just gathered up all these characters who we've only ever seen in 2D, and we have now been boom, 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 blown up into glorious, luscious, and very sexy 3D. Can we get just one more shot of a booty blazing freaking speeder bike going down the highway to nowhere? Can we get one more green skin, flappy headed Mary Winston Taylor Thomas? Oh man!
I call her Goggles, baby. I call her Goggles.
This show, I don't even care what's going on in the plot, bro. This show is a feast for the senses. And I'm not just talking about the practical effects, because there are aplenty. I'm not talking about the laser fighting, because there's plenty of laser sword fighting. There's all that stuff going on. Charlie, I am not going to even bother delaying a second longer. I really thoroughly enjoyed these initial 2 episodes.
It was like
Ahsoka.
a movie. What I liked about it ran, I want to say it was like 45 and 35, something like that.
So together, you mean?
Yeah. I am full on hyped. I actually dragged our mother into the room because I wanted to see someone who knew nothing about, like, she doesn't even remember Darth Vader. Like, they mentioned Anakin and she goes, "That sounds like a lovely Jewish boy." She had a hell of a good time.
I bet he loves sand.
She had a great time too, man. If you don't enjoy Chomper, the fucking droid with 2 little wacky waveable inflatable tube arms, you don't know joy. Leave it to Ellis to once again not get that the best of Star Wars was not from fucking George Toy Boy Lucas. It's the people. He's saying that no one knows these characters. You put Rosario Dawson in orange fucking paint, and you give her a couple fucking ding-dongs on her head, and everyone's on board.
You know what, Ellis, though, that's a legitimate point. The majority, I feel, of people aren't familiar with these characters, and I'm gonna say even adult Star Wars fans, because I did not watch Rebels.
Well, you're not a child.
I didn't watch Rebels at all. I only caught fleeting moments of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And I vehemently refuse to watch what's the one about the fucking they're clone troopers, but they're like the Bad Batch.
The Bad Batch.
The Bad
You watched
Batch.
some of Bad Batch. You had to.
I watched enough of Bad Batch to be like, I hate this with every fiber of my being, and I refuse to watch even a moment longer. So that's where I walked into this, Ellis, and I almost exclusively know her character from what I gleaned from Mandalorian.
Oh, Mando, yeah.
Now here's the thing. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that most people are in my camp.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Is that a fair assumption? So, I do have to believe that the makers of this show know that, right? This is not news to them. I don't think they're fooling themselves saying, no, these are household names in terms of characters. So, and they're treating them that way, right? So we're getting the exposition that we need to know, like, okay, I know that Sabine Wren, she's a rebel amongst rebels. Like, you can't tell her what to do, and she's gonna do things her own way. Those ships, by the way, that kind of like shot alongside her, those were dope as hell. I don't know.
Dope as fuck.
Ellis, if you want to jump in, or anybody else with Star Wars knowledge, if those ships have a designation already, nicknames, whatever the case might be, let me know, because those are Lego models that need to happen right quick. really, really, across the board, it was a very fleshed out world that we jumped into. Now that being said, not knowing some of the characters' names upon seeing them initially, not being sure exactly, coming from a place of the expanded series, like Thrawn is an immediate fill the cup for me.
But also sits in that world of like not everyone knows who Thrawn is.
Not everybody knows what Thrawn is, and obviously because they've explicitly said that we are not doing this expanded legacy content. So right away I'm like, yeah, I know Thrawn. I don't know what they're gonna do with him. They might make him a tap dancing, entertainer on a gambling yacht someplace. For all I freaking know, but I'm all the way in for it. The most important thing to me personally, as like a old school curmudgeon-y type of fan, it felt like Star Wars.
It fucking.
It felt like Star Wars.
It feels like Star Wars, and I don't even know necessarily what that means.
It felt like Star Wars to me, specifically in the time period that it falls on the timeline.
Right after fucking Jedi.
Oh man, I had a good time.
What's very interesting to me is we're on the backside of a lot of fan disappointment.
Oh, the backside was unbelievable.
The backside was.
Oh, on the speeder bike.
Wonderful. I think what's very interesting is like tracking nerd joy.
Yeah.
I feel like we hit Guardians of the Galaxy 3 in theaters, and everyone was like, what a fucking revelation. I'm crying because of a fucking raccoon. And I feel like everything from that point was like, man, fucking Flash sucked, and this sucked, and everything sucked. This felt like a return of joy to me, even in the lead up. Like, there have been a lot of people who are like, oh God, please be good. Please be good. And by and large, what I'm seeing today is a lot of people being like, you fucking, yes, please, please,
Yeah.
now the rest be good. It's trepidatious. But I think Ellis is the only person that hasn't been fully convinced to jump back into this world. He does make a point. Fucking for him, not even Mary Elizabeth Winstead could get him back in. For me, this was like a sign, and it's a stacked cast. Like, if you look at this cast, Ray Stevens, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, my brother.
Looks like he is what we've been waiting for a dark side user in what feels like 20 years now. It feels like I've been waiting for another badass Sith for a minute. I didn't.
Grievous didn't do it for you?
Grievous didn't do it for me. Fucking giant pec muscles didn't do it for me. When he was cosplaying his uncle, fucking Vader. What was the last really badass
Maul.
live action? Maul. Yeah, so prequel era fucking Maul. I think it looks incredible. I think the show looks as fleshed out as you can.
The show looks good. I think that the way that they are handling it, for me, kind of like the low water mark as far as like what a Star Wars thing looks like. Probably would have been the prequels because everything was so squeaky
Shiny?
clean and digital, and even when they go into special editions, they start adding monsters and stuff like that into the background.
You don't like when
stuff.
they're stepping on tails?
Oh
and shit?
yeah, I'm not really for that. At some point, you just gotta say, you know what came before came, and I'm gonna move forward, and we're gonna do some new stuff. And really, this, I think this, at least initially, the start that they're off to, it seems very focused, right? So what some people, and I agree with the sentiment, rightfully said regarding Mandalorian's latter episodes, was that it kind of it started going all over the place. Is this didn't show? Is this a different set of Mandalorian show? And that it's a fair question, because you really don't know.
Yeah.
And we do know also kind of like what's gonna happen to the world that they inhabit down the road. So, well, you guys really do need to answer some questions. You can't just say, well, and then they live happily ever after. No, they didn't. And the same thing really does apply to to Ahsoka and her entire group. Now, I do have, I wouldn't say so much a complaint as I do have a recommendation to the good folks over at the House of Mouse. At this stage in the game, with you playing fast and loose with the timeline of stories that you're telling, and I don't know if you've heard the same kind of rumblings, but they're talking about this next generation of storytelling. They're trying to talk about like well into the future. This is Kathleen Kennedy, Darth Kathleen Kennedy.
She's truly the darkest Sith we've seen.
Holy Lord. But also as well as talking about the Knights of the Old Republic era. So what they're talking about is getting away from Vader. Like,
yeah.
Getting away from the Skywalker era of the Star Wars stories, which I have no problem with because this is a huge canon in which to play with. You gotta develop a tried and true, known to the viewers marker. Start every series from this point on. Fuck it. Start every episode that you are telling with a very simple number, blank, fill in the blank, years before Yavin or years after Yavin.
And what's terrible
the
is
Battle of Yavin is your ground zero for the stories that you're telling. Again, anyone who's unfamiliar, the Battle of Yavin is like the formal Star Wars terminology that they throw around for being, for talking about the destruction of the first Death Star. In effect, the events of A New Hope, Star Wars 4. For anybody who's keeping score at home, what were you gonna say?
No, I think
like what is that?
I've advocated for that for years. I think every fucking thing, especially as shit gets confusing, Marvel, and again, I know it's still House of Mouse, but the Marvel movies need it. I think the DC movies will very soon need it. Just because I think all these companies, what they do is they muddy their own waters unnecessarily, and I think that helps clean it up. John,
Star Wars, I think more than anybody.
I don't want to get into spoiler territory beyond the fact that I sometimes just need my meter refilled because it just like gets beaten and beaten and beaten, and I need like my Marvel.
And you beat it yourself most of the time.
All the time, a couple times a day, just right before this podcast.
Oh, gross.
In that chair you're sitting in.
Check please.
But for me, a big thing is like, it doesn't necessarily take a lot for me to get reinvested and re-excited.
No, you're a simple boy.
And it's wonderful though. Like I'd much rather be easily made happy than
like,
easily made sad. So the question immediately becomes, what is, in your opinion, because obviously people are going to people, Ellis in the chat is alluding to the fact that I'm basically an abused spouse. Because Disney has hurt me. But my argument becomes something as big as Disney Star Wars.
Yeah.
When I put it on the grand scale, and I love ranking shit, but it all boils down to does it elicit joy or does it bum me the fuck out? And Star Wars, when you take into account the whole of the films, that's 6 misses for me and 3 hits for the proper Star Wars. I like Solo. I love Rogue One. I love all the seasons of Mandalorian. I dislike the season of Boba Fett. The shit I love outweighs the shit I don't. So I'm in until, honestly, I'm probably in forever. I can't imagine ever.
But you're a recent convert.
I'm relatively new, but my point is, I couldn't imagine ever turning my back completely and not trying it. Do you think there's a time in these fandoms where just for people's own well-being, that they should go the Ellis route of like, I've been burnt too many times, I have the couple things I love, I'm going to stick to that, and everything else can eat shit? Or do you think it's just not that serious, and it's like, do whatever? Like, for me, this shit's high-stakes poker, because I love loving shit. I love entertainment. I love the art form of cinema and the art form of stories being manifested into tangible real life or animation. This stuff for me is something I think I would always try on. Now, if these first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, I would have watched both. If they were terrible, I'll get to it eventually.
So let me ask you this before I answer your question.
Yeah.
You liked, I'm garnering, you liked the first 2 episodes.
Loved them.
Okay, you loved them. All right. They weren't perfect for me.
No.
They weren't perfect. There were certain choices that were made storytelling wise that maybe I would have gone a different way with, but that's what happens when you're a wannabe.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I would have done this, I would have done that. And obviously, if you feel like I would have done X, Y, Z, you're thinking, and that would have been for the betterment of the end product.
Yeah.
Fine. Now that being said, like you being a wannabe yourself, what would have a failure? What would have a quote unquote bad Ahsoka premiere look like for you? Just out of curiosity.
A boring first couple episodes.
Okay, because here's the thing. One might argue that they were slow. Not boring. Boring is a very, very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Boring is a very, very strong.
A lot of talking.
Term.
You're basically selling Prime, saying I'm walking out of Oppenheimer. They just keep chit chatting.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a fucking Logan.
In any way.
Yeah.
Logan from Canada or Logan from being a douchebag.
But I mean, one could argue like, well, they were kind of slow. The opening was outstanding. A lot of standoffs were great, but there was again exposition.
Yeah.
This is a show, not a movie.
There's a lot of getting to know you.
Very clear, and I know that one of my favorite episodes of frickin' whatchamacallit was killed because they spent all that time, on the city on Coruscant. And I'm like, this is important stuff. What's going to happen is later on you're going to get to, the prison break. You're like, hey, but wait a minute. But you were not paying attention.
Yeah.
Dum-dum. This is what happens. And sometimes some series benefit the binge.
Yeah.
And I'm already feeling like Ahsoka is going to be one of those.
Better served.
It's going to be one of those shows that people are going to say X, Y, and Z and then have to say something almost completely different when they binge it. Oh, snappy nappy from the lappy. It is Corey. Corey, what is up, kid?
Corey said he felt like what he heard as a complaint was that the actors were a little bit phoning it in. They weren't happy to be there. I think that's just a translation of a character.
Now, is that inside information, Corey? Because we know that you exclusively hang out with the glitterati. Miss you too, Corey, and you did a good job today. I'll most likely kill you in the morning, but you did a good job today. I didn't get that feeling at all, Corey. I really didn't. I feel like there were a lot of character choices that might have been meant to emulate the animated version of these characters, because nobody is debuting a character. They're just debuting debuting characters in real life, fleshed out. So I didn't get that impression.
And Filoni Lucas is a lot of characters. There's a lot of like very straight backed like that's how Lucas wrote, which is ironic because again, Ellis in the chat said he's a Lucas fan, not a Star Wars fan, but this couldn't exist without Lucas. And I guess my question to you.
That's true.
My question to you still remains, though. It's like you just said, this might be best served binge. So even if you hold off, Ellis eventually decides I'm going to try it because Mary Elizabeth Winstead is the
Ellis,
most delicious green bitch of all time.
You know it.
But is that the best course for this, or is it a thing where sometimes you just tag out completely?
Well,
we're sport fans. We're so used to getting nothing in return except for hope. That I think that's the nerd difference, is this nerd shit has fully overlapped with the same mentality I have for like the Rangers, the Giants, the Mets. Right. It like does not matter what the truth is.
Well, here's the thing. This is what I'll say to that. The worst. Obviously, we want our content to be awesome, right? That's
ideal.
I am not. I'm not a masochist. I don't walk into. Something that I'm spending time watching and saying, this is gonna, I hope this is bad because that'll be something to talk about. I always prefer for it to be great first. However, if it's not going to be great, I'd rather it be bad than be mediocre. Because if it's mediocre, there's almost nothing to talk about it with it. If it's bad, at the very least, you can sit back and just sip the tea and wait for people's heads to explode because you know that they're gonna. Again, I always want the Mets to win, but if the Mets lose, I'm like, fucking Casey's gonna have something to say about this.
Yeah.
And looking forward to that commentary is still something. Yeah, exactly right, Corey. Honestly, the 2023 Met and Yankee seasons have been something that we're going to be talking about for quite a bit.
They've been real the book of Boba Fett.
Oh boy, have they ever. Have they ever. But look, the truth of the matter is that whether you like it, love it, or someplace in between, I don't think there's any doubt that the story arc that's happening is building towards some pivotal, combined, crossover-y type of situation. I would absolutely not be surprised if the events of Ahsoka and the events of The Mandalorian are on a fucking collision course.
Yeah.
Someplace in the immediate future, just like Luke, battle yavening it down the trenches, me on the Death Star, about ready to put that fucking 4-pound payload, a gadoosh, right in the little,
His sister.
in the holiest of holies, and just make it a big bada boom. That was my really biggest takeaway. Aside from the fact, like, all these motherfuckers gotta die eventually as we move forward. I saw a very funny meme where it was Kenobi and Yoda in their fucking ghosty forms, or Kenobi in his ghosty form and Yoda just chilling on the fucking swamp. He's like, oh, Luke, he's our only hope. And then goes like, well, there's Ahsoka too. Yoda's like, yeah, we could have brought her in on this, I guess. But again, I know that, look, if it's memeable, the folks at the big desk are going to have something to say about it. But that's my prediction thus far, is that these events from Ahsoka and the events of Mandalorian, the latter seasons, they're going to be building towards something big, maybe in a movie format. I am just still super duper amped to see my Grand Admiral Thrawn in all of his blue, red-eyed fucking glory.
You're supposed to do a musical because you could star as it.
Oh, Thrawn.
I'm Thrawn!
Oh, Thrawn, I love you so. I cannot wait. That is going to fill the cup big time for me. What about you? Final thoughts on Ahsoka?
I'm so fucking excited, and I'm glad I don't have to, like, it's torment that they don't just drop it all in once, because this is one of those things that I'm so in right now that I'm afraid, like, I'm ready to be hurt again, but I'm so afraid to be hurt again, because Secret Invasion was like the first episode. I was so excited, and then it was just so deflating.
Were you though? Like, were you so excited for Secret Invasion?
I was. I get excited about everything though. They're like, oh, they're rebooting fucking Teletubbies. I'm like, fuck yeah! Give that Teletubby a gun.
That's only because you very much look like the baby in the sun. You're like,
That's true.
yay,
That
it's
is,
gonna be me.
I was hoping to get
starring
cast
turn.
in their reboot. I'm very, very excited.
Look, anyone who doesn't have an opinion one way or the other about Ahsoka, at least thus far, or even worse, says like, no, I'm not gonna watch it. Ooh, those tushes will turn the tide way quick. Just watch the trailer just one more time,
Filoni
and then
knows
see if you stick to your guns. Filoni knows.
That's quick pan in.
Filoni knows what he's doing. If anybody says they're not gonna watch it, period, they are, sad to say, just like that toy boy George fucking Lucas. They're sitting there and they are bald-faced, lying to you. Why, Charlie? Why? Tell me why?
Because...
Han shot first. Wait a minute.
Pinky.
That is... Oh, boy. All right.
Ah. It's so good.
This is what was getting you sick.
You love it.
What's that, pineapple death?
Yeah, pretty much.
Blech.
Basically. Pineapple death for John. A little bit
Yikes.
of I can't believe it's not Dayquil for me.
Damn straight.
We got facts being dropped. That's
Good
right.
Lord, yeah, Leonardo.
my favorite, my second favorite turtle, if I'm being honest. I almost lied and said favorite turtle because I was just excited he was joining us.
Favorite or not, the best.
You know what? I'll allow you to have this because you are Broadway John.
Thank you. I don't have to bring Chaz up in this joint.
I'm going from happy to happy because we saw Blue Beetle in fucking a great IMAX presentation.
Yeah, that was solid, man.
Blue Beetle, #1 film in the country.
Viva la raza!
It usurped Barbie like
The
only...
Barbie killer.
The Barbie killer, but it made like $48. But
Barbie only made 47.
That's right. I do not give a fuck, though, about the money it brings in. No. I don't care what it means for the wider DC universe. What I care about is, can a superhero movie, other than Guardians 3, get me to love again, John? And I'm happy to report Blue Beetle was a truly unexpected delight.
Yeah.
Never have I ever sat in a movie that challenged so little about the form. It did so little as far as bringing a new gimmick to the theaters, and yet somehow remixed arguably some of the most stale elements in superhero films into a film that I personally walked away loving.
Yeah.
I had such a good time, and the more time I sit in the afterglow
Just sit in the stank
of Blue Beetle, the more I realize two truths.
Hit me.
Truth number one, little baby Cord is one of the most delicious newcomers, and no one's talking about it. The Cord's daughter,
Oh, yeah.
Ted Cord's daughter, is so beautiful. It's at times
beautiful.
distracting. There's a couple scenes I missed. I was busy looking.
Just Charlie just arbitrarily in the movie. He's like, huh?
Yeah,
What happened? What
I'm
happened?
just trying to like memorize the beautiful jawline. But also the things it does go left on, where
Yeah.
other movies go right,
Yeah.
are its secret power.
Which
Blue
is,
Beetle ultimately is an origin story of a young adult. Some gets special because of something he didn't directly do. Right place, right time to become special.
Yeah.
Rises to the occasion, learns a morality tale, and walks away, having won some battles, having lost some battles, but ultimately really discovering
Yeah, I got some, learn how to use superpowers.
learning who they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
However, what this movie does oh so well, and I don't watch trailers, so I didn't know that it was even alluded to, but I
What a
actually...
hipster dude.
I think the trailers didn't do a good enough job. This puts his family right in the forefront. This is the first superhero, to my knowledge, that Team Blue Beetle is his uncle, his grandma, his sister, his mom's, his dad's.
Yeah.
Like, they did such a good job.
I'm not sure if that's racist by jamming 52 Mexicans into the van. Like, the man in the van.
Excuse me, the taco.
50
Never have I wanted a Tacoma more.
Oh, man. May I just may I put something out there? And like I said, we're pretty generous. We're gregarious here at USComics Cast, and far be it from me to tell DC and you know, James Gunn, the brain, the professor, how to go about his business. But eventually, like Ellis said, eventually it will end up sooner rather than not, because it was originally intended for Max, the streaming service.
Yes.
And it will end up on Max very shortly, I'm sure. But when they're looking for their blurb, their quick description of what the show is, I think I have the perfect one.
Oh, God.
That most folks who are adults will grasp onto, and they'll know what we're saying, right? Like Charlie was saying, they did not reinvent any wheels. They really didn't introduce anything particularly new. They effects took all of the comic book tropes that we have grown accustomed to at this point and said, look at all this stuff. Now look at it through these Blue Beetle colored glasses because now it's Mexican.
Yeah.
Right? Here's the Mexican version of all that other shit that you have already come to know. So I would describe this flick as, how are we gonna put it? Let's say Coco meets the greatest American hero. Because that's exactly...
I gotta be honest, that is the greatest tagline I've ever heard.
It is exactly what this movie was. And they do play fast and loose. I think that Leonardo is right. There were plenty of puns. There were plenty of stereotypes. There were plenty of cutesy moments like, oh, Grandma's the tough one. She was a gorilla in the South American jungles once upon a time. No spoiler light.
It's a little, yeah, it's a light spoiler.
Little light spoiler.
Grandma's the villain in the movie.
But look, like they didn't shy away from giving you these little like cutesy moments, but they just they basically edged us. They comic book edged us.
Incredibly good point.
Right to the edge. Yeah, Ellis, that was my thought. Is that like the kids in the audience might not be familiar with the greatest American hero. If you're not, think of that one T-shirt that Sheldon wears in the Big Bang Theory. You're like, I don't know what that one is. That one is the greatest American hero, and just kind of work your way backwards on YouTube from there. But yeah, they just took you right to the edge, and then they pulled back and gave you some serious business. So it remained enjoyable throughout.
I gotta be honest, I think that was one of the most surprising things to me, is that they navigated, for me at least, they navigated that so well. Because
it was hard to do.
Marvel has been fumbling the comedy ball pretty consistently in the last few years. Right. DC has been fumbling left, right, and sideways, literally almost everything.
Well, DC hasn't known what they are.
But this...
At least Marvel knew. Like, look, what we make are action comedies where the leads wear tights and spandex. Simple as that.
I almost think this movie's titled poorly. Because this isn't just Jaime's story. This is truly like the Blue Beetle family. And Ellis said in the chat, Batman has a family. I'm not talking about found families. There are masterworks in comic book cinema in recent memory. Guardians of the Galaxy might be the end-all, be-all when it comes to found families.
Yeah.
Batman has always been this guy trying to rebuild the family he lost. Superman has wonderful relationship elements. Spider-Man. I actually think the Amazing Spider-Man... Spider-Man does a wonderful job despite all of its flaws. And I don't think the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, minus your crotch cameo, I don't necessarily think it does a ton great. It does do the relationship between Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker marvelously. They just did a fan film.
Spider-Man Moving looks amazing.
A fan film, Spider-Man Lotus just dropped. It's actually, I don't happen to enjoy it. I think there's people that were involved in that production did an amazing job. The special effects people, the costume people. Apparently the actor and the director are kind of douches, but more importantly, that story is all over the place, trying to make you feel one way or another. What Blue Beetle does so wonderfully, other than remind us what a total gilf Susan Sarandon still is.
There you go, Ellis.
What it did was it gave me
natural too. She natural.
It gave me all the shit I loved.
Yeah.
That I was sick of maybe 10 years ago. And it's enough of a remix. Now, to speak to Leonardo's point, I think there will be some people that eye roll at how specific some of the Mexican aspects of this are. You and I are Puerto Rican. You and I just very recently, I was talking about how the culture affects me, and I think it affects me differently than it affects you and affects our cousins. My shit all is from a very American lens. Yeah, so there's some shit in Blue Beetle that I very unapologetically needed to like look up because I didn't get all of it. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy all of it because
like Goya, Goya.
This could have been about a Russian family with with Russian idiosyncrasies,
Right.
and I would have found it just as endearing. I would have had to do more research. I would have had to do more homework, but I feel like if
But
you
it
compare,
would have been just as enjoyable.
oh my god, totally. And also, I feel like this was less aggressive with the culture than something like, let's say, Black Panther. And I'm not saying that that's good or bad. I think these are two.
Well,
we're
it's a
comparing
little-
two
a
wildly
little-
different beasts.
A little different because Black Panther's cultural beats were. It's not a real culture. You know what I mean?
Also
That's
true,
that's
like borrowed from-
manufactured. They had to like Frankenstein
Yeah.
bits and pieces, so like you couldn't say, well, that's not accurate. Well, it is accurate because I made up this shit to begin with.
I also think what's very interesting, director had a great quote that I saw yesterday, and it was DC kind of mandated some of the action sequences. Like apparently early notes in the script was like, we need a first act fight,
Sure.
we need a second act fight, we need a bigger third act fight. Like
Yeah.
those were their very traditional notes.
Yeah.
And
That's out of the big book of making a comic book
Yeah.
movie.
For him, though, he was like, yo, bet. But if you are going to dictate the scope of the action sequences, then I want to dictate the scope of the cultural references. And apparently the studio was very like, fucking deal. Like,
Yeah.
that totally works for us. And what I love about the movie was this feels like a very fully formed family that's not doing the thing I hate a lot of times when culture's used and it's trying to speak for like every Latino. They weren't trying to do that.
No,
they were trying to talk for 6 Latinos.
They were specifically a Mexican family dealing with the people coming through the fucking ceiling in a Mexican way.
Yeah.
What I always like to see is the avoiding of fridging a character just for the sake of giving a character motivation. And I also hate like a damsel in distressing characters because it's so
Boring?
on the nose. It's been done a kabillion times, and as many times as it's been done before, you're still not going to be able to do it as good as the first time that they did it. So the way that was handled, look, you had several characters to keep tabs on at all time, and they were doing different things, but still it was a laser focused storyline. And even when they borrowed from all this other content, look, they borrowed from shit that wasn't particularly successful the first time. Like, we could have been watching Iron Man 2
Yeah.
at certain moments. I'm like, wait a minute, maybe he is Russian. Like, did they have a bird back there?
Yeah.
There were certain moments where you had the Leonardo DiCaprio fucking meme, you pointing at the screen like, hey, this is this and this is that. And it was. Unapologetically, it absolutely was. Because, look, the truth of the matter is that history repeats itself.
Yeah.
Even fictional history fucking repeats itself just for narrative's sake. So the reason why they do stuff like that is so that we can say, oh, shit, I get it.
Yeah.
I get what's happening right now. It's done. I do not need another half an hour of exposition to get us all on the same page. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
When they did the retro stuff, because anyone who's unfamiliar with Blue Beetle, and I realize that's going to be a lot of people. Blue Beetle is another non-household name. Blue Beetle is a fucking golden age character, right? Blue Beetle has been around a long time, and the Scarab, the said Scarab, in Blue Beetle had made a connection with, I forget his name, Peter something or another.
The first Blue Beetle
with a character and had all these abilities. The second Blue Beetle, who I think maybe more people are familiar with, Ted Cord.
Jay Garrick was the first one.
No,
that's
I think
Flash.
it was Flash, yeah. That was a Flash for sure. But yeah, so Ted Cord was the second Blue Beetle in name only. So Ted Cord was a character who had money at his disposal, and said, you know what, I'm just gonna make my own fucking things, but I'm gonna carry the mantle of Blue Beetle, but had the Scarab in his possession. And obviously, go see the movie if you haven't seen it already to find out how it gets into the hands of Jamie, or as Charlie likes to call him because he's so ethnic, Jaime. But yeah, Booster Gold does indeed show up a little bit later in the timeline, but he's with the Ted Kord version of the character.
Well, not in the movie.
Well, not in the movie because we only hear of, we never see Ted Kord.
It could be though.
Could be coming
It could
up.
fucking be. I do want to address something real quick, and we're about wrapped time wise, but I have a couple quick things I want to hit.
hit 'em.
First thing I want to hit is Ellis saw a video that this was the same movie as Ant-Man. That's the dumbest fucking thing I ever heard. It does such a disservice to this film, and it clearly comes from a mindset of someone wanting to discourage people from seeing Blue Beetle.
It's not Ellis. In all seriousness, the beats are totally different, and that all being said, even if it were, let's say in a parallel dimension, this is beat for beat a reskin of Ant-Man. Ant-Man would be like the free peanut butter sandwich that you get at school lunch because you didn't want lasagna day or twin taco or whatever the case might be. This shit is taco flavored fucking version of that story. So even if they were the exact same version, Ant-Man was flavorless, and fucking Blue Beetle was what's the super spicy Taco Bell one? Fire?
Yeah.
Like the black warning
Fuego.
symbol.
Oh.
This shit was flavorful from top to bottom. So even if it was the same, it's still a superior version if one insists on ranking them, which I think we all know I do not, and Charlie absolutely
I love
will
it. It's my favorite
all the time.
So and again, this I want relatively quickly, just because I don't
Do
want to belabor the point too bad. On the other side of this flick, I get why James Gunn was like, no, I want this character in my DC. I think the film looks great. I think the amount of practical effects. Some people are pointing out like the 3 scenes that use a little bit of wonky CG, but there's so fucking little CG. It's a real suit. The kid's really in it. Yeah. They make some choices that you and I actually disagree on.
He doesn't do any power rangering, which I was personally
I loved.
He didn't do any power rangering.
I actually really was in love with the fact that his jawline is what moves. Like there's like it's like a knight's faceplate.
Why did I show like?
I don't know.
Like, this is a jawline, man. It's because I have no beard. That's why.
That's why. That makes sense.
I'm very
naked.
Very touchy about the no beard right now.
It looks good though. It suits you. You look like Chaz's dad. It's a necessary evil. Now DC in the history books, the big revision was Cyborg got moved into the Justice League, not only for the New 52, but post the New 52. If Blue Beetle has the potential of being an Iron Man type character for DC, is this the sort of character that you, just hypothetically, is this a character you could imagine eventually in the Justice League of the James Gunn verse? Someone said that to me, and at first I was like, shut the fuck wait a second. I secretly love that. This way you could reserve Cyborg for the Teen Titans if they exist, or not at all. I love the idea of Jaime, because right now he's like 22, 23, probably age-wise.
He graduated college.
Is a college graduate. Went to fucking Gotham Law, which is like a tiny Easter egg, but a delicious one, because it would have been the cheapest law school, because Gotham fucking sucks. The more I think about it, the more I love that this universe could organically have a Justice League, and not that it would have to have Jaime be part of it, but just the fact that it could. He feels very much like a 5th, 6th tier member, and also, just because I consider it like on the same level as like that position, a 5th, 6th member of the Justice League is like Green Lantern level to me, because it's the Trinity and then everyone else. To me, it's the Trinity, GL, Flash, and then others. Like that's my breakdown. In the opening credits, someone pointed out to me, there's a point where you see the Scarab in space, and a green light hits it. It's a ring. That's a Green Lantern ring.
That's awesome.
Which I love. But could you imagine, again, I'm not talking about top 3, I'm not even talking about top 5, I'm talking about 6th Martian Manhunter level member of the Justice League. Could you imagine Jaime being part of it?
So I could, but here's the reason
in a happy way. Not just could you imagine it.
Here's the reason why I could, because everything has to make sense for me narratively.
Yeah.
And so if I'm telling a story and I'm jumping in the middle, which I think is a perfectly valid way and effective way to start telling a story, because you don't have to You don't have to waste people's times with exposition. You could always look backwards and say, "Oh, this is how we got here." You still need a character that is the audience.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean you need a character that's experiencing some of this shit.
Squid is
For the exactly right. They experience some of this stuff for the first time ever, the same way that us in the audience are. And when they need something explained to them, secretly, it's being explained to us, the viewer.
Yeah.
So you'll need a character like that. And can Jamie Reyes be that character? 100% yes. There's something happening that the big guys, the Trinity, that they need somebody to kind of like sweep up. And somebody made the illusion before, almost like Spider-Man to the Avengers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is something I definitely can see. To the point also, like, look, when you're ready to reintroduce Booster Gold, who is a fantastic character, can you imagine, like, Jamie Reyes is just now feeling comfortable being able to count these adult superheroes as his contemporaries, and fucking Booster Gold is just fucking up doing Booster Gold. She's like, "Oh, you're gonna get me in trouble. Put that down." No, that's Wonder Woman. She's really pissed.
Like, I gotta tell you, you've just sold me on this idea so much. Yeah.
Like, you can definitely see that being the narrative thread. And like fucking Booster Gold's like, I was in the couch, I was in the kitchen the whole time. I don't know what the kid is talking about. Goddamn Mexicans. So yeah, 100% you can see something like that. Look, the truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, they have introduced us to a likable character that you root for, that has an involved, a very cool power set, a unique power set compared to everything else that's been going on. They don't. Here's spoiler alert for you. They don't fucking bother spending more than 2 seconds telling you where the Scarab came from.
Yeah.
Really, again, do yourselves a favor. Even the older set that's listening and watching, fucking YouTube some Greatest American Hero shit. Remind yourself how little explanation they actually did about Ralph's fucking suit, where it shows up, wrong dry cleaner, all of a sudden he's just, well, believe it or not, Jaime's walking on air.
I am
thought he could be so Mexican.
You are aware I'm cutting that together now. Like, as footage becomes available, that's hilarious.
Feel free to credit me
you
for the
zero.
son of a dirty bitch. All right. So final thoughts. Take us out of here, because I got some specific.
I think I love it. I will be seeing it again in theaters. I kind of already called my shot.
Really?
Little cousins, I have them in tow. I'm like, come on, we're gonna watch Mexicans power it up.
All right. That's fair enough.
And on that second viewing, it's gonna start slowly moving
Take
into.
notes.
You know what? I don't have a Spider-Man in my life, and as much as it's become like a little bit of a joke on the show,
hateful bastard.
and as much as I love Miles Morales, there is something different about live action films than CG or animated. So the more I think about it, the more I get kind of geeked up and chubbed up about the idea of this character getting to grow and kind of be something bigger. I think there's a golden opportunity here to take a low baggage character. 2006, this character was created. That's a drop. That's the Jaime version. That's a drop in fucking the sands of time as far as I'm concerned. Let's fucking flesh it out. Let's make this fucking kid a star. Let's book him to a fit. I want him to have a Sam Jackson contract. I want this poor fuck 25 years from now to be like, all I get to do is play Blue Beetle. Be like, you shut your hole and get in your suit.
I'm looking forward to his version 2.0 costume.
Oh yeah, like a couple more ducats, a little bit more money, because money's great.
Money is just swell.
And I like money, especially for the show. So today, we are brought to you by Battle Planet, the brand new...
No, we're not!
Oh, is it because we're not sellout douchebag liars?
Yes.
Who've never played those games?
Amongst other reasons.
We are once again brought to you by one of our absolute favorite bands. That, of course, is Bad Mary. You heard them during the intro. You're going to hear them again at the end of the show. If you're wondering where else you can find their act, you can follow them over at Bad Mary Band across all social media platforms. You can support them over on patreon.com/Bad Mary Band. You can stay up to date at badmary.com for merch and upcoming performances. But my favorite part, John, is I go to Spotify, I go to Apple Music, and boom, boom, boom. Bad Mary is available across every music streaming platform. What else do you want from them?
I don't know.
They're giving you music.
They're just giving it away. But still, it leaves us with the question, where we dropping with Sergeant Finesse? find him currently gaming exclusively. Even though I think he just did a special guest appearance on Facebook the other day, but that doesn't really matter. Find him exclusively gaming most days on kick.com. Multiple streams every day. Outstanding video game content. Supported games, co-streams, giveaways, contests. Don't be a sucker. Check him out today when Sarge is on deck. You salute, but also as well as do not forget the Grinning Wonder. Joker's stream, man, he drops in on us every week. Joker stream, just a unbelievably amazing.
I'm in it for Bats.
Fortnite. Bats is the best. Just a great Fortnite streamer. Dynamite does cosplay like it's meant to be done, with love and with attention to detail. You can find him also streaming on Kick, but mostly you're gonna find him on Twitch. Joker understream. Joker underscore stream underscore. Just good damn guy.
Tell him we said hi.
Tell him we said hi, especially Bats, because Bats is the shiznit. But here we are, Charlie. I hope you have your fucking tie.
I do. Want me to hit this button?
Do me a favor and hit the button, you non-tie wearing son of a bitch.
What are you doing
Yeah.
on the executive elevator?
Look at that tie.
Yes, I'm a suit.
That
Therefore, I
tie.
got shit for brains and
Oof.
fucking I hate money.
As long as you have a checkbook, that's all that really matters. So this one, we're going to keep this pretty quick because we have indeed, hey, Christine, we have indeed had kind of like busy weeks, but
Yes.
that doesn't take away from the validity of said pitch, because this is something that needs to happen. The fact that it has not happened already in this day and age frankly boggles the mind, and this is a mind that is tough to boggle. So Charlie, if you would please hit that music, because I'm about to blow you out of your goofy ass backward tie.
You will respect me. I am a suit.
Fair enough.
You got a pitch for me, sir?
Is the music playing?
Yes.
Here we go. All right. Here we are. Okay. Now this is going to really take some work on your end, because you are a very highly powered, influential suit.
It's true.
You do what you need to do to make this happen. But I'll be honest, as far as the names, I kind of don't fucking care. We just need some name recognition, mostly gonna be for the trailer. We're gonna open up on the Academy Awards. Oh, just like the biggest night for congratulatory self-fucking jerk-off awards that there ever was.
So Will Smith's out.
So, literally, where the glitterati is glittering it up, and they're just about to announce the Best Actor or Actress award, whichever celeb owes you a favor. The winner is given the trophy, the golden fucking oldie. Just jumping into the acceptance speech when we hear some hubbub, and coming very Will Smith like, we get a kind of crazed, little beleaguered, costume done seen better days crime fighter runs up on the stage, just hollering kind of like undecipherable fucking gibberish, just screaming top of their lungs, making a beeline for the award winner of the evening. And this superhero type runs up, can't really tell what they're saying anymore, but they rip at the award winner's face and come away with a rubbery, latexy face, skin, and wig, fake hair, and they point to the winner. Alien, 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 ba-boom. Okay, now we're gonna cut to the title card, which I'm gonna hold off for a second, because this is volume 2 in the adventures of, but I'm not gonna get to that quite yet. So clearly clearly this is going to have an effect. But much like if you recall the Chris Rock, Will Smith events, even then, even people who watched it happen in real time were saying what?
It was fake.
Fake. It's a fake. Publicity stunt. This was just done for the attention, to give a little juice to the awards, whatever the case might be. So now we're going to have like one of those montage-y news fucking like conflicting reports. Some people saying, holy shit, told you aliens were real, the invasion is upon us. Get your buckets, fill up the bathtub with water, do what you gotta do, get ready to bug out, buy some more ammunition from Walmart. On the other side, there are people saying, nah, this is fake.
This is for a movie.
Didn't even look real. Watch, the next movie is going to be a space alien invasion movie, whatever the case might be. So, again, that's in effect where
How
we
gauche
are.
to do an award.
How tacky. I was in the middle of an appetizer. So again, we have these multiple news reels saying all different shit. And just like America is now, we have like almost a 50-50 fucking split because we are indeed big dummies. Now, that uproar, Charlie, Mr. Charlie, sir,
That's right.
is only interrupted once a huge earthquake strikes the West Coast. And I'm not saying, oh, it hit Hollywoodland. Oh, it hit California. Charlie, this fucking earthquake
We fucking took out
is
Otisburg.
big as Dolly Parton's titties.
That's
fucking
a big
hits,
titty.
Woo, Otisburg. This hits the entire West Coast. All kinds of crazy damage. Fucking tornadoes and hurricanes and windstorms and sharknadoes and all kinds of shit. Kills the power to like a great part of the country, right? So now, not only do we have this huge devastation on the West Coast, but most people are without power all over the damn place. So some shit could be happening, and a lot of people would be unawares. Okay. Simultaneously, multiple individuals of power use this opportunity to indeed reveal themselves to also be fucking aliens. They're like, what the shit? Oh, I guess now is the fucking time. So, in effect, we now know that the alien that was exposed at the awards.
The Rock, by the way. The Rock was going to win the award.
A giant monkey was going to win the award. King Kong, as King Kong,
Yes.
won the award as best actress because you
Lays
presumed.
eggs, yeah.
You presumed. That's Godzilla, but way to be my yes and. So they reveal themselves to be not just aliens, but fucking reptilians, the worst kind of alien invaders. And they decide, you know what? Now's the fucking time.
Fuck off, nerds.
The Earth doesn't even like them. Fuck these guys. We're gonna go ahead and go full-fledged assault. Now we do live in a world of at least costumed crime fighters, and they give it the old college try.
Are they like all Batman spirit types, or do we have people with powers?
We are dealing with largely. There are people with powers for shizzle,
But for the most part, it's people like...
but it is golden agey
Gotcha.
type of hero fighting.
To
right?
the Muskrat Mobile!
So the alien's like, that's hilarious. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you and probably eat your face, and they do. So the aliens are just having a devil of a time, and the invasion is fully on, bro. Like we have launched right into fucking V era where, again, being that our country is so 50-50, some people are like, whip, we had a good run. Take me away, my reptilian fucking slave lord. And some people are like, yeah, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna go live in my basement.
I love that you made
I'm
the
dead
rebels
now.
the bitches.
Oh yeah, I mean, come on, like it's still gotta be somewhat realistic, Charlie.
Fair enough.
Even in these movies. So the heroes they tried to hero, except for the ones that are like, well, we tried. These reptiles seem all right, and there is a contingent of like quote unquote heroes that are like, well, what can we do? If these,
I will join the aliens!
if these were mole men, maybe we'd have something to say, but they ain't, so we ain't. So this guerrilla underground of rebel heroes fucking forms, and they endeavor to say, you know what, the past, the past era of heroes, those were hard cats. Those are the heroes that would have fucking gotten us out of this bullshit, and some of them are still out there. So now this underground rebel force of normies say, you know what? We need to gather together the heroes of
geriatric
of
heroes
old,
of the past.
not necessarily geriatric, but like the heroes of our recent past that got shit done. And a lot of them, Charlie, were fucking unheralded, right? These were not the Captain Amazings of their world. Charlie, these were, in no particular order, Mr. Furious, played by Ben Stiller, the Shoveler, played by William H. Macy,
Take my money!
the Blue Raja, played by Hank Azaria, the Bowler, played by Janine Garofalo, Invisible Boy, played by Kev Mitchell, and the Sphinx, of course, played by
God
Wes
damn you.
Studi. Now,
Rest well.
this, I admittedly, this idea came to this feverish mind with the very recent loss of Mr. Pee Wee Herman himself, Paul Rubens. So naturally, sadly, Paul Rubens cannot join in the adventures. However, we are not going to discard the man. His character, Spleen, as we all know, his remains are being... they're in the tender, loving, goddamn right, Corey. He in the tender, loving care of said Sphinx. He's got the Spleen's remains right there. So now we're gonna have these underground characters. Now these actors can be whoever you have under contract. You got to give a little something to. Think of it as kind of like the kids in the Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah.
They're driving the story, but they are not the story exclusively. And we go around and we kind of like, we're gonna one by one putting the team together, montage, hilarious, I love it. So we're gonna put them all together, and like I said, this is a shorter pitch. We're gonna get little small adventures on the road to El Dorado, as it were, putting the team back together, and kind of like the relationships.
I'm so excited.
The relationships are renewed, and like who catching up with who's doing what, and little funny quips. We can even do this in a very fucking Curb Your Enthusiasm way, where like you say, okay, here's the situation, and go, you let them riff, because these are all very talented actors and comedians. So that's where we're going to be, but we're all gonna drive to the ultimate final confrontation, which occurs at the mouth of the fucking mothership of these reptilian celebrity alien invaders. And, look, they're still the aliens, and these are still the mystery men. So they do what they can do, and they have their own abilities. But ultimately, how we're going to third act win it all, we are going to have a fucking Invisible Boy handle his business, right? He's going to take the Spleen's remains and sneak them over to the mouth, the entrance of the ship, and place them just so, and then just Kev's and sneak away, naked, as they want to do, and then we're going to get the very postcardish, the very pajama pillowcase making lineup of the mystery men in 2023, just lining up, calling out these alien fucking losers, calling them out. You beat everyone else. We are going to be the ones to send you packing. Get the hell off our planet. Like all of that bravado, all the bullshit, all of the superhero speech, monologuing, shit's about to go down. And the aliens just looking at each other like, are they kidding? These guys are a fucking joke. Are they kidding me? So they open the fucking gate. Now this is again an impenetrable mothership that legitimate superheroes, militaries, fucking Girl Scouts, nobody has been able to penetrate this ship that has the highest, the muckety mucks of the alien hierarchy in there. So they say, you know what? Fuck these mystery men. They open the gate. The moment, Charlie, that fucking lip hits the ground, for some reason I'm like picturing the mothership from Cobra that looks like a giant cobra. But like the second that lip hits the ground, our girl, the bowler, she pops out the bag and lets it fucking rip. and that bowling ball, we're like ducking fucking laser shots and missiles and alien fighter planes trying to shoot it down. It just makes its way in every way possible except for in a straight line, and just impacts the fucking remains of the spleen. And it really looks like Oppenheimer 2 more than Mystery Men 2, because when it fucking connects with the spleen's remains, we find out that it wasn't the spleen's charred remains after a fucking, after the events of, what happens when someone's no longer with us. It was his very last, biggest fart that he fucking put in this very specific receptacle for just such an occasion, and we get the world's largest fucking green gas bomb, completely takes out the ship. Mystery Men save the day, as they are wont to do. Roll credits.
I've never greenlit something quicker.
Literally greenlit. And not only is this going to be a legacy sequel, but I think, my personal humble opinion, absolutely a relaunch of the franchise, because no good franchise should ever be left to whimper and be sad and cold and hungry in the winter months to come.
I love it.
Thank you for
Do you have a title in mind? Yeah, you get all the money.
Mystery Man 2.
How about Mystery Men's? Just a terrible title.
With a Z?
Yeah. Mystery Men's.
Yeah.
Sold, but we need to include that Z. For my brother. What an excellent pitch.
Thank you.
What a lovely chat with you beautiful people. We are live every single Wednesday. The podcast version available every Wednesday morning. By the time you're ready for that commute, that podcast is waiting for you. But we are here week after week, not next Wednesday, because Broadway John is going to be in full effect, I believe. You have a show next Wednesday?
No.
We'll see you next Wednesday.
I'm just making shit up.
I loved it. But there's only one way that we end each and every episode of USComics Cast, and such to the point that I know my lovely brother can't help but be his most animated. I have moved my teleprompter over to the right. Because John, show him how we do it. Because first, you gotta turn the power, you bastard. Then you gotta turn the volume up to Bradbury and open up the window wide and scream out into the night sky. Save my space girl. We are.
Get to work on time.